And we begin with good day, sir.
Geeks come in all shapes and sizes, and that they come into all kinds of things.
I was thinking more about the Satanic Panic.
By the scholar Gary Gygax.
Well, wait, hold on.
I said good day, sir. Not defending Roman slavery by any stretch,
but God, that's bad.
Let them vote. Fuck off.
When historians, and especially British historians, want to get cute.
Oh, it's in there.
Okay.
It is not worth the journey. This is a Geek History of Time,
where we connect nerdery to the real world. My name is Ed Blaylock. I'm a world history teacher here in Northern California at the 7th grade level. And I have been a geek since birth, really. My father has admitted that had Dungeons & Dragons existed when he was in high school, he probably would have played it. But it didn't exist when he was in high school, so instead he tried out for the baseball team. And I gotta say, the geekiest thing about me, I'm gonna throw this one in here, is the first live concert I ever actually saw in my life was as a 20-something.
Let me guess. Weird Al.
Yep. Yes. As a matter of fact, Weird Al Yankovic. And how about you?
I'm Damian Harmony. I am a Latin teacher, and next year also a world history teacher.
Welcome back to the club.
Yeah.
At the high school level, though, so
yes.
You get to do more stuff.
Much more that I want, yes. Actually, they told me you're going to have to take a social science on. I said, okay. Do you want parent phone calls? They said, no. I said, then don't give me government and economics. I said, for that matter, you probably don't want to give me U.S. history, because when the Nazis are in color photos and wearing suits and ties, I'm still going to call them Nazis. At which point they said, shit, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Why don't you take world history? I said, yeah, there are black and white photos there. It's probably safe.
Yeah.
I've been a geek most of my life as well. And actually, I would say that baseball is a geek sport. You're essentially doing a lot of math to keep up with a bunch of players who fail a majority of the time.
Yeah, well, stats being what they are, baseball fandom being what it is, I would argue it's a nerd sport.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not necessarily. I'm sure there are people who would qualify as baseball geeks. And
sure.
If we find a few of them, I'm sure they have fascinating stuff to tell us.
Well, and with the advent of fantasy sports of all kinds, it's in the name.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
What you reading?
I am right now. I have picked back up and am going back at how the Scots invented the modern world. The true story of how Western Europe's poorest nation created our world and everything in it by Arthur Herman. And it sounds desperately chauvinistic. And in a way it is, but he does make a compelling case for a very great deal of the philosophical underpinnings of the Enlightenment coming out of the conflicts and the specific economic developments that took place in Scotland at the beginning of what we would consider the early modern era.
I could see that.
So it's a fascinating read, and as somebody who identifies strongly with that part of my heritage and wears a kilt, it's kind of an ego stroke as well. How about you?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and recommend the complete collection of Gary Larson's The Far Side.
All right.
I'm reading it with my children as bedtime stories. It is so fun.
Yeah, and you are going to screw them up so hard. Just thinking about that right now, the first cartoon that jumps into my mind is the one because he loves cows.
Yes.
He loves him some cows. Mm-hmm. And it's the two cows staring at the third cow who's standing over a barbecue grill, and the one cow pointing at him just saying, "You're sick, Harvey.
Yeah,
sick."
See now, in one of the games that I played when I was younger, as an adult, sometimes would degenerate into discussions of what really is art, and other times it would degenerate into just saying captions to each other from The Far Side. And so somebody would be like, bummer of a birthmark, Hal. And we'd all laugh.
And that's the best one.
And somebody would be like, hey, everybody, I'm a cowboy. Howdy. And just back and forth.
Yeah, that's awesome.
My favorite of them all was, because Gary Larson was a master of the single contained one, but every once in a while he'd give you 2 or 3 in one.
Yeah.
This was a 6-parter, all in the same frame, and it's a man standing there. sees a UFO. It lands. A monster or an alien comes out, punches him, gets back in, and takes off. And at the bottom it says, Harold never knew what hit him.
Yeah. Oh, he was great at
It
this.
is my favorite.
Now here's the deal. I'm about to tattle on my father because my dad was an airline pilot.
Okay.
And Larson wrote a few really good cartoons about airlines. One of my dad's favorites was a gigantic baby on the tarmac with two guys in pilot uniform sitting on its back, and one turns to the other and says, "All right, let's get this baby off the ground." My dad got a big chuckle out of that one, but the one that he had to admit to finding less funny than he might otherwise have.
I know what you're going to say.
You're viewing the airplane from the front.
Yep.
And the pilot says into the intercom, "Uh-oh, looks like we got some turbulence up ahead." And one frame with the airplane zagging wildly left, another one zagging wildly right. Then another frame with the pilot and the co-pilot both laughing themselves sick. And the last frame is the co-pilot wiping a tear out of his eye, getting back on the intercom and saying, "Uh-oh, looks like more turbulence." Because we don't have time for the whole story, but to a lesser extent, that actually happened. My father actually witnessed that. Yeah, so...
All right.
And someday I'll have to share that story so everybody isn't completely freaked out about flying, public carriers. But yes, so yeah, no, Larson, you're screwing your kids up, but in the best way possible.
Oh yeah. It's so much fun. My daughter loves the puns. My son loves the slapstick. It's good fun.
Well, the man was a genius. Is a genius.
Yes.
He's not dead, but he's retired. But yeah, no, he's truly a master of the form.
Gary Larson, if you're out there and you decide to make an app, we would happily shill the app for you. I would even pay for the app myself. A one-a-day Farside app.
Oh, totally.
On a phone.
I'd be all over that.
Yeah, so.
Not so much the Family Circus.
No, I want funny things.
But Farside, Foxtrot. I'm a Foxtrot fan. I'd pay for that one. But if you have any kind of an app like that you want to find somebody to shill it for you,
even Mary Worth.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fully 50% of us would pay for Mary Worth.
No! I would want to get paid for shilling Mary Worth.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Obviously.
Or Mark Trail.
There you go. Yeah. We will do that. We are open to that. We are actively, hoping for sponsorship. So whatever you got,
this would be where it was.
Us. This would be where we would do that ad.
Yeah. All right. You have a bevy of books in front of you.
Yes, I do.
Wildly familiar.
Yeah, they one of them certainly should.
Yeah.
I know. So I'm going to ask you very quickly.
Sure.
Because I know that our experiences differ in regard to our introduction to this particular branch of geekery, but I think it would be good for our audience to know it as well. Your first tabletop role playing game experience, and your longest running tabletop gaming as two separate questions.
Yeah, sure. So very first one, I was 8, maybe 7.
Okay.
And it was Dungeons and Dragons. So 8, maybe 7 puts me in 1985 or so.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And when you say Dungeons and Dragons, are we talking about the box set?
I don't know. My parents had the books, and we played in Theater of the Mind. Although my dad was a minis head, so I had a few miniatures. I forget exactly what I played. I might have been a cleric, or I might have been a fighter. I don't remember which.
Okay.
I remember being upset that clerics could only use maces.
Yeah.
Couldn't use sharp weapons. But I don't remember if that changed what I was going to do.
Okay.
And then there were some NPCs that my dad added for us.
Yeah.
And they tried to get me into it, and I, back then it was the halcyon days of save or die sometimes. And and I remember
that's a divisive mechanic to this day.
Yeah. And I remember dying at the hands of several lizard men.
All right.
So
that would be a vivid memory to carry from that age.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that's your first experience. Now your longest running one, though.
Ooh, might set a record at the table.
Okay.
Started playing I started playing Al-Qadim D&D Second Ed.
Okay.
It turned to Third Ed.
Okay.
3.0 came out.
All right.
We converted it.
Uh-huh.
And then 9/11 happened.
Uh-huh.
So this was 99 to 2000 to 2001. Might have been 2000 to 2001.
Yeah,
then 9/11 happened.
2001.
And the game master did not feel comfortable playing Al-Qadim in light of that happening.
Interesting.
It was odd. It's, people react the way they're going to react at that moment.
Yeah.
So I think the game petered out shortly thereafter. I think maybe he had to go back to school or something like that.
Okay.
A bunch of us really enjoyed playing.
Yeah.
And we decided, hey, why don't we play a different game? And I suggested West End Games Star Wars.
The best and forever the truest, I think, to the feel of the movies
Agreed.
version of the Star Wars role-playing game. Just going to get that out there.
So it was October of 2000. No, it was February of 2002.
Okay.
Because the joke was I had till March.
Okay.
So it's February of 2002. And we played that game until 2015. Same game, same characters, same story arc.
All
At
right.
our 10th anniversary, I commissioned an artist to do up our group
Nice.
as a photo, as though it was a snapshot taken during the actual story.
Oh, very cool.
I'll show it to you after.
Yeah.
And then at our final game, the Game Master, now the guys I played with, were, in case they listen to this, Rich, Logan, and Martin, and myself, and on occasion a few other people would bounce in and out. Rich, the Game Master, he'd done it for years. He contacted the guy, I think his name was Nick Capsian, or something to that effect, contacted that guy who had written the original West End Games Edition rules.
Yes.
Contacted him, sent him 3 or 4 First Edition books, got that guy to personalize a message to each one of us, and gave it to us on our last game.
Wow.
Yep. And so
That,
in his...
I had not... That last part I had not known.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm envious.
And in his downstairs game room...
Okay.
He has, with a light focused on the picture that I gave us.
Nice.
So
very cool.
Yeah, that was the longest game.
All right. So
that game saw me through 2 marriages, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after the second one of those happened, there was the very brief game you were running that I was in. The less said about that, the better, because I still feel morally uncomfortable with the choice that essentially I made as the leader of our group, and everybody else went along with.
I really want to revisit that game too.
I really do, because I really want to think harder about how easily I made the choice I did. Order
66.
Order 66. Yeah. But that's not. I wanted to bring that up.
Sure.
Because tabletop role-playing games are something that those of us who are involved in them, they are a way of connecting with our friends for a very long period of time.
Yes.
They are a way of maintaining continuity in friendships. When other stuff in your life changes, marriages, children, divorces, whatever, when you are able to maintain that connection to people, it's a way of maintaining that connection. And so it's something that people get very passionate about.
Yep.
And my own first experience was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. As I've mentioned on previous episodes before, through an enrichment program, actually at the private school I wound up attending in Hawaii. And also probably the longest running group that I have played with. Is the group of folks that it's the same dungeon master I had when I was starting from my freshman year of college. One now of my college roommates and I are essentially the original throughput on the ship of Odysseus. I'm trying to remember what the where it's a philosophical question about how many parts of something can you replace and still claim it's the same thing. I want to say Ship of Odysseus. We're kind of the original spine of that ship that has carried on. There's other people that have come and gone, whatever. And so we have even moved through editions of the game. We started out playing second edition AD&D. And right now I am not with them because new parent, but they are currently playing in first edition AD&D. And there are some very significant arguments online. The statement that I just made a moment ago about West End Games' version of Star Wars would be less controversial amongst Star Wars players than if I were, for example, to say that 5th edition D&D is the best playing experience for Dungeons and Dragons. If I were to go into a chat room online right now and type that up, I wouldn't even get to the point of hitting send before somebody else, somewhere else on that same chat room would psychically sense that I was about to express that opinion, and I would be buried under a mountain of hate from people who carry the torch for first edition, second edition, third edition 3.5. If it wasn't a D&D specific platform, I would have Pathfinder people jumping on me. The whole formation of Pathfinder was born out of the edition wars.
Right.
Because 4th edition came along. It was a radical departure from what 3rd and 3.5 had been.
Yeah, it looked like they tried to World of Warcraft D&D.
They did. Yeah. They did. And here's the thing. I genuinely enjoyed it. It was very different.
Yeah.
And the limitations of what they were trying to do became clear very quickly.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun with it. I really liked the way they were able to make classes work. And I'm one of those guys who goes around talking about, no, look, I'm a paleo gamer. I've been doing this longer than most of the people at the table have been alive, literally. In some cases, depending on where I am. And I enjoyed 4th edition. I was not willing to be the standard bearer in the edition wars.
Sure.
Because I like all of the incarnations of the game. I am a fan of all of them in their different ways. And what I'm going to be talking about today has to do with one of the quirks of 1st edition AD&D.
Okay. See, whereas I, with the editions, is similar to how I am with my children. I have enjoyed every stage of their development thoroughly.
Yes.
I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Okay. I enjoyed the heck out of 3.0.
I've been a parent long enough. I totally understand what you mean. Yeah.
And some people are like, I miss when they were that age. I don't. And I mean, I don't miss when they were 5 and 7. And when they were 5 and 7, wasn't that radically different when they were 6 and 9.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, that does work because one of them's 2.5 years older than the other.
Yeah.
But like, I love 5e. I couldn't imagine wanting to play 3.5 now. I loved 3.5. I couldn't imagine wanting to play 2.
Yeah.
I loved 2. Couldn't imagine wanting to play 1.
Yeah.
But
I understand that mindset. Here's my thing. And this is going to earn me all kinds of hate. And you know what? I will feed on that hate.
At E.H. Blaylock.
Yeah, at E.H. Blaylock, Twitter. You can flame me all you want to.
Or at Geek History Time.
You can hit me up there too. Of all of the editions, I think 3.5 was the one eventually, mechanically, I least enjoyed playing.
I would agree.
There were, when it first came out, when 3.0 first came out, there was a lot of stuff in it I really liked. And then
it was a much needed reboot.
Oh yeah. And then within several years, Wizards had developed a new business model for the way they were doing the game that I think doomed it mechanically. And it basically was every 5 months, every 6 months, we're going to come out with a new supplemental hardback book. And in every supplemental hardback book, there's going to be new feats and a new prestige class, and new this and new that. And my college roommate, who is part of the longest running campaign group that I've been in, is the kind of collector and the kind of
He's a completionist.
Nick, I love you to tears. Understand this when you hear this, but I got to be honest. He's the kind of manic, obsessive rules lawyer that when we would level up in a particular campaign I'm thinking of, he would be paralyzed for days.
Gotcha.
Because he needed to try to figure out what the best way was to optimize what new feat he was going to take, because he would carry 2 backpacks with him to go to our game to carry all of the books that all of that stuff was in.
I understand the draw for that. I have almost all of the WEG books for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Almost all of them.
Oh, yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So, but the thing was, after a certain point, trying to keep track of the math and the modifiers and everything was something that, we couldn't all do.
Sure.
And so, anyway, back to what I'm talking about.
So you're talking about First
Edition. We're going back to First Edition, and this is First Edition AD&D. This is not the boxed set. This is 77 to 79. This is Gygax's baby. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Dungeons and Dragons was mostly designed by Gary Gygax with a lot of input and a lot of help from Gary Arneson. Or not Gary Arneson. Dave Arneson.
Dave Arneson. Okay.
Dave Arneson. And they both wound up founding TSR, and they both wound up being part of Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
And they are both secular saints, within the geek community. And the game as a whole, like I said, they worked together to develop the game. And Arneson moved on to take on the mantle of handling the development of the basic game, the boxed sets.
Uh-huh.
Gygax elaborated the rules out to the lower planes and back for AD&D. Okay. He was like, okay, we got this basic structure. That's awesome. Now, let's drown it in frosting. We've baked a cake. We've got a good cake.
Uh-huh.
Let's drown that son of a gun in frosting.
Okay.
David Lee Roth, there's an analogy David Lee Roth used to use talking about doing a rock and roll show.
Uh-huh.
His idea was, if you can get one guy out with a guitar, play a good song, that's baking a cake. You got to be able to bake the cake.
Right.
Once you can bake the cake, drown that son of a bitch in frosting. And that was Gygax with AD&D.
All right.
The basic game stressed simplicity, playability. AD&D was much more about detailed rules and more options for play. So
now D&D came from people who had been miniatures gamers,
yes,
with lots of rules about measurement and this and that and the other, because they were essentially simulationists.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And if I'm stepping on your toes, stop me.
No.
And so the simulationists got to the point where they're like, well, this is all cool and I can outmath you, but what's that one guy's story right there? And so then they kind of got into the theater of the mind type stuff. So it came from simulationism.
Yeah.
And that fed a large part of it. Hence all the tables every 5 pages.
Well, and the index at the back of Unearthed Arcana with a detailed description of the difference between a Fauchard and a Fauchard fork and a Guisarme Vosges, which
all pole arms.
They're all pointy bits on the end of a stick with different characteristics depending on who you're trying to kill with them.
Right.
And so in both systems, there are some underlying assumptions that actually have less to do with rules and have a lot more to do with world building. And what I'm going to talk about tonight has to do with the world building involved in AD&D. Now, the rule books themselves are setting agnostic. You can take the AD&D rules and you can play them in a clone of Jack Vance's Dying Earth. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, Jack Vance's Dying Earth was one of the major influences for a lot of what the game looks like. Mm-hmm. You can take those same rules and you can play them in a clone of Middle-earth, which is what most everybody does. Mm-hmm. You can take them and apply them to Westeros. I mean, it's
okay.
Largely, it is setting agnostic, is what I'm trying to say by that.
Okay.
And I think it's worth pointing out that the world building in the books involved a description of an economy with gold pieces, silver pieces, copper pieces. This is And in your own world, you're encouraged to say, okay, well, here in this kingdom, a gold piece is, a sovereign.
Right.
A silver piece is a half crown. Whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But on
Still
your
decimal.
character sheet, it's a decimal system, whatever. And I'm not here to poke holes in suspended disbelief, because there are all kinds of things, especially in First Edition, that we can point to and go, if you actually try to extrapolate that out and build a real economy, that'll fall apart in weeks.
Well, and I like that people want to like kind of poke holes in that.
Yeah.
When they're standing next to a dragon.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You're accepting dragons.
Yeah.
You can accept a decimal-based economy based on specie currency.
Well, yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You're obviously gone past the this isn't real part.
Yeah.
Like, chill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's always going to be somebody, and I'm friends with several of these somebodies, who is going to take a look at the way the rules are written, and as the game master, you're going to say to them, okay, look, this is what the situation is. And they're going to try to dig into, okay, I'm going to extrapolate from A, what about B? Okay, well, the way that works is this. Oh, okay, well, if that's how that works, then I've just figured out how I can manipulate this weird loophole in this reality we've created. And so that's how that winds up happening. Most of the time, it's players going, I got to figure out how to get one over on the DM and, figure out how
becomes adversarial.
Well, yeah.
Which goes back to the miniatures.
And the way Gygax originally wrote the rules, and if you read what he wrote about being a dungeon master, Gygax was adversarial. Gygax had the opinion that if you're not trying to kill the player characters, you're not doing your job.
Wow.
Arneson was no, man, we're all playing a game. We're all here to have fun. We want to do stuff.
Cooperative storytelling.
Cooperative storytelling. So, but again, what I want to look at here is specifically related to level advancement in First Edition AD&D and attraction of followers. Okay.
It's pretty niche.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But it says something very telling about the mindset of the game design. Say you have a fighter.
Okay.
Okay. Now, in First Edition AD&D, if you are playing with Unearthed Arcana, you have a fighter.
Okay.
It is the most bone simple class in the game. The only primary requisite you have as a fighter is that your strength has to be 9 or above.
Now, is this the 3 to 18 scale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on 3 die 6, you got to get a strength score of 9 or above. You got to have at least average strength.
Okay.
The rest of your stats, whatever the rest of them look like, doesn't matter. That is it. It is literally the lowest bar.
Right.
Almost the lowest bar anybody has to meet. Okay. Thieves, not rogues. An important thing. Thieves. To my dying day, I'm going to make this argument.
Oh, Lord.
If you're going to play a thief in D&D, don't say rogue, say thief. You are a professional with a set of skills and a lot of training. Take pride in what you do. Okay? A rogue is somebody who can't be trusted. If you're doing your job the right way as the party thief, your comrades should be able to trust you. If they can't, you're going to get dry gulched in a ditch somewhere. In the Underdark. For the drow. Anyway, sorry. Moving on.
So a fighter.
So you got a fighter. Again, you're basically, you could be the peasant boy who, has run off with a knife.
You found a sword stuck in the middle of a rock. You pulled it out.
You pulled it out. There you go. That'd wind up being a cavalier. More. But anyway, so as a fighter, you really don't get a lot. The game does not give you a lot of toys.
Back up. If I'm a peasant boy who grabs a sword out of a stone, I'm able to open people up.
Well, yeah.
Anytime I hit them with it, right?
Yeah.
So my cleave landing will make me a cavalier.
Thou merkin merchant. I've decided I'm not going to hit him with Victorian tones of disgust anymore. I'm going to use Elizabethan insults.
You should really just have a matrix of them.
I do somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't
card.
have it. I just don't have it in front of me. But thou merkin merchant, scrofulous. Anyway.
I like that in response to my Cleve Landing Cavalier joke. You sound like King James.
I'm not even.
No,
I can't.
Because he would have been handed the sword by a lady of the lake.
Well, actually, King James probably would have been handed it by a young boy with pretty eyes. But anyway, that's James for you. And by the way, his Bible sucked. Says the Catholic in the room.
Hot take.
All right. You know what? If you want to talk to any biblical scholars anywhere in the world, the translation is the worst one that's ever been done. It is a point of agreement by everybody who is not a fundy. Anyway, moving on. So, as a fighter, you don't get much.
Okay.
You have more weapon proficiency slots. You can start the game knowing how to use more tools to beat people up.
Sure.
You can double up with a couple of those weapon proficiency slots to say, I am specialized in using this one weapon, which means that with your attacks with that weapon, you act in some ways as though you are several levels higher.
Okay. You
get a +1 to hit and a +2 to damage with it, which is a big deal.
Pretty big.
At low level, it's a very big deal.
It's a 5% extra chance of hitting.
Yeah, and depending on what die you're using, it's an even higher bonus to your damage. So it's specialization doesn't suck. Now here's the deal. Your Cavalier buddy, who has much stricter ability score requirements in order to qualify, gets all kinds of toys. He's still basically a graduate of fighter college.
Okay.
He's still basically the guy who swings a sharpened piece of metal to open people up. But he reflects the idea of the feudal knight, and especially the later period feudal knight in really heavy armor.
Okay. The shinies.
Yes. Yeah. And because we're talking about with Unearthed Arcana available, as opposed to before Unearthed Arcana was published. And so he gets all kinds of bonuses. Now, in the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon,
yes,
you may remember the character Eric, the Cavalier there.
Yeah.
He was the one with the shield.
Played by Donnie Most.
Really?
Yeah. Ralph Mouth.
That makes so much sense. Right? Yeah, I'm never going to unhear that.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, when your boy is old enough, I will happily lend you the discs. My daughter is plowing through them.
Do we need to wait till my son is old enough?
No.
Okay. Because I have a massive, big, soft, squishy spot in my chest for that show. So, but you'll remember his magic item was a shield.
Yes.
Because one of the things that Cavalier could do in First Edition before it became a mechanic for anybody anywhere was you could say, this round I am choosing to parry.
Okay.
And you would be able to increase your armor class by whatever your attack bonus was.
Okay.
You could.
Oh, very nice. So make it a lot harder to hit you.
You could tank that much harder
right.
in modern World of Warcraft terms.
Sure.
Whereas the fighter was just, I'm standing here in all this armor, come at me, bro.
Right.
I got a D10.
You may land,
dice.
you may not.
You may land, you may not. So everybody else gets toys. The Cavalier gets that. The thief has all of his professional, highly trained skills. The wizard gets spells.
Right.
And, of course, the fighter's advancement is linear. Or power. The power curve for fighters is linear.
Okay.
The power curve for wizards is logarithmic.
Okay.
When you look at the access to the spells they have access to, when you're a 9th level fighter, you've got a lot of hit points. You have a lot more. You got to have a lot more hit points than everybody else. You're durable. You probably got really good armor. You're hitting pretty hard. But the wizard has the ability to stand behind you and at 9th level blow the ever-loving daylights out of companies of soldiers at a time with a delayed blast fireball or lightning bolt or at higher levels spells like Cloud Kill and eventually Wish.
Right.
So, wizards, again, it's a logarithmic.
If you survive long enough.
Yeah, if you survive long enough, you get to unlock the secrets of the cosmos.
You get to use fighters as bodyguards.
Yeah, pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
And clerics, to a lesser extent, kind of the same way. Clerics have powerful. They get some very powerful attack spells.
Sure.
They get Flame Strike. They get blade barrier. They're biblically thematic,
Right.
and then they have all of the healing spells are a cleric thing.
With with parry, I just want to go back to that for a second.
Yeah.
Does that work only in melee, or can that work if somebody's throwing improvised weapons at you?
I am trying to. I believe it is. It's essentially I'm holding my shield up. I'm taking a defensive stance,
So if you're fighting
edition,
like a group of
fighting defensively,
Freemasons or roofers, you could.
I see it coming. I don't know what it's going to be, but I see the look on your face.
So you could say you could declare a Tyler parry.
Oh, yeah, I need to get that Matrix. Good day, sir. I'll just have to fall back on that.
Sure.
So...
Or if somebody's throwing felines at you, it could be like a catty parry.
Catty parry.
Yeah. I'm not proud of that one.
You shouldn't be.
No.
I'm
ahead on points on that one.
That hurt.
But that was not good technique.
That was a cheap move.
Yeah.
That was a cheap move. So... Oh, God. You're just littering the place up with those. So the one thing you do get as a fight, because as a fighter, you have sharpened pieces of metal. Mm-hmm. The sharpened pieces of metal get bigger and more magical as you find them.
Okay.
You hit more often than other people, but your Cavalier buddy uses the same attack table you do, so he has all the bonuses he's got. Plus, he has the ability to train and increase his stats over time. Every time he gains a level, his strength, his dexterity, and his constitution, he can because he's like a knight. He's constantly training on a daily basis.
Right.
So every time he goes up a level, he actually gets to roll dice to see how much those stats go up.
Is everybody else just static?
Yeah.
Really?
In first edition, your stats didn't change unless you got a wish spell or a magical item of some kind that allowed you to do that.
Okay.
So that was a big deal.
So you were... It's a Calvinistic game.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
Okay.
What you are at the start... I hadn't even thought of framing it that way, but you're totally right. What you are at the start is what you're going to be at the end, minus whatever grace the DM decides to give you.
And the important part is how you use what gifts you have.
Yes.
So, wow, that's...
Well, and you're all doomed to die.
Well, yeah, that's going to happen.
There's no way for anybody to know which of you are going to reach glory and which ones aren't.
Right.
Sorry, I'm stuck on Calvin's predestination.
No, I'm looking at it more as like American mythos. Like
we're gonna get into that further here in a moment.
Okay,
yes.
do it.
I had not seen that aspect of it, but you're not wrong.
Yeah.
So
you're all theoretically equal.
Yeah. The one thing you get, the one glorious thing you have to look forward to as a fighter in First Edition AD&D.
Let me guess. Hang on. Let me think. It would have to be like the ability to kill things.
No. Well, that increases linearly.
Yeah.
Over time.
Okay. Hang on. So the thing you get that would set you apart from all the rest as a fighter.
Yeah.
Would be... You get items to imbue with magic. It like all the things that enable you to dance in other people's yards seem to be item based and inventory based. And you don't get to go up in stats unless you're a cavalier. So as a fighter, and everybody has hit points. You just have more.
Yeah.
So as a fighter, you get extra attacks.
You do.
Okay.
You do.
But that
doesn't differentiate you from your paladin buddy or your cavalier buddy.
All right. Let me think. Your paladin buddy...
They're like you, only with other abilities other powers and other cool toys.
Is it just that your linear progression is quicker than theirs?
Well, you don't require as many experience points to get to higher levels.
Oh.
There is that.
That reminds me of that board game Dungeon, where to win as a this, as a that, as a this, as a that, you got to have a higher score. Okay, so your progression is shorter. And therefore you get more powerful quicker.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you get? I'm stumped. Everything I can think of is just item based.
Okay. As a fighter.
Yeah.
The PHB, first off, it needs to be noted, the player's handbook originally only covers advancement to 11th level for fighters and clerics, 12th level for everybody else. So at 9th level,
Whoa.
Yeah, so by the time you get to 9th level, you are really close to, okay, we've gotten to max level and we're going to have to start a new campaign now. Okay, this is before anybody, is before the idea of epic level D&D had become a thing.
Right.
Okay. What the rule books say is, past this point, you get 2 hit points every level. You require 100,000 XP per level going up here. Everything is fixed from this point out. And
it's not worth doing.
And that's it. And it's really not, So, you could have a 20th level fighter, but he would be, 25, 30 hit points stronger than a 12th level fighter. And that would kind of be it.
Yeah.
What you get at 9th level as a fighter that nobody else gets.
No one else gets this. Okay.
Is that you have the option of establishing a freehold. Yeah.
You get property?
Yeah. Let me explain how it works.
No, wait. Who gives a fuck? Like, you can't take it with you. Literally. And now you're married to that spot. Like, ooh, adventure time. Like, I'm going to go administer Mount Vernon. Like, what the shit is this?
You leave somebody else behind to do all the lording. You get to go off at night
so that
and
you get
do
pretend sovereigns.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, hold on. So here's the deal. Step 1.
Uh-huh.
Go out in the wilderness someplace, build a stronghold. Go out.
You have to roleplay this?
You can.
Okay.
In most of the campaigns that I played in playing AD&D, it was...
You unlock it. And
here you go.
Okay.
Go out, build a stronghold. Step 2. Now, this is where you get to the point that we're talking about. Okay, you are a 9th level fighter in a campaign that only goes up to, 11th level.
Right.
You have all of your buddies with you who are now, the wizard's probably 7th or 8th level because of his advancement.
It takes longer.
Your thief buddy is probably a level or 2 ahead of you at this point because he requires even fewer XP to go up in level. Talk to my buddy Nick about how our DM tried to keep him in line with the rest of the party. I'll have a double order McSpectre shake and a side order of whites, please.
Yeah, because you used to take damage.
Level draining undead.
And also they had, certain spells you cast had to cost you XP. Or, you had to make scrolls.
You had to spend, to
spend XP
scrolls.
to make scrolls.
Rogues didn't have thieves.
Right.
Thieves didn't have to worry about that. No. This was you see a box in the middle of the room. It's latched with an eldritch sigil. Everybody in the room is like, I think we know this is not going to be good.
Right.
My buddy Nick says, Ryan, to our DM, I'm turning around and walking down the hall the other way, Ryan. Okay, is anybody going to open the box? 3 or 4 people, back and forth. Nick, from the far end of the table from the DM. Ryan, did you hear me? I'm walking away. I got to be at least 15 feet away from the door by now, Ryan. I'm walking away. We open the box. Ryan goes, okay, and now rolls a die. The specter flies out of the box it had been imprisoned in and goes after, clatter, clatter, clatter. Ryan, do you hear me? I'm running down the hall. Goes after Nick. Son of a... Because we knew it was coming because he was 2 levels ahead of the rest of the party.
Right.
It was so transparent. It was ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
But so anyway, your thief buddy is probably at least a level ahead of everybody else, unless you have Ryan McMurtry for your DM.
Yeah.
Hi, Ryan. How you doing?
Thank you for listening, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Please direct all criticisms
to at
EH
Blaylock. But that's just such a great story. I had to share it. So, step 2, get your wizard buddy, your ranger buddy. Now, your thief buddy is the only other guy who's able to attract any kind of followers. So he might not want to come along with you. His way of attracting followers works differently and probably sounds more fun. He's in a city somewhere nearby.
Okay.
Building his own crime syndicate. He's busy forming a guild, which is to say a mob. That's how he gets followers. And that's how he gets a revenue stream.
Where's Gary Gygax from?
The Midwest.
That sounds about right. The urban area with high populations where the politicians are housed.
Yeah.
crime syndicate,
and
Tammany Hall,
and Al Capone.
Right.
Well, Tammany Hall was New York.
I know, but the urban experience,
the urban,
right?
Yeah.
Whereas I'm just thinking of like folk loci of power. Whereas like you're going out into the wilderness, so you're upstate New York, or
the prairie.
Right.
Gonna get to that.
Oh.
So step 2.
Okay.
Again, with the help of your cleric buddy, your ranger buddy, your wizard buddy.
You need their help.
You probably will, because your next job is you've got to clear a 20 to 50 square mile area of monsters. So all the bugbears, all the goblins, all the orcs, all the hobgoblins, kobolds if they're there, a dragon if it's around.
So to get property in a world that will never really need that property as part of the game, you need to take the religious leaders and the frontiersmen with you and get rid of all the Indians.
You're making the jump before I planned.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
No, you got to go out, clear the area of monsters. So,
monsters, I apologize.
Yeah, well, yeah. So step 3, after you've done that, so you've established your freehold.
Okay.
You've built a fortress, whether that's a wooden keep or a stone castle or whatever. You work out with your own DM, but you've built your fortress.
Sure.
You've cleared the area of monsters. You have effectively now established your duchy, barony, whatever you want to call it. And step 3, and I'm going to read this from the textbook.
Okay.
When a fighter, I love how I called it the textbook, from the PHP.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
What a teacher I am.
Because we're teachers.
Yeah.
When a fighter attains 9th level, your title, by the way, at this point was Lord.
Well, that's telling.
He or she may opt to establish a freehold. This is done by building some type of castle, clearing the area in a radius of 20 to 50 miles around the stronghold, making it free from all sorts of hostile creatures. Now, the way this is written is important. Keep all of this in mind.
Okay.
Whenever such a freehold is established and cleared, the fighter will 1. Automatically attract a body of men-at-arms led by an above-average fighter. These men will serve as mercenaries so long as the fighter maintains his or her freehold and pays the men-at-arms. And, step 4, profit. Number 2, collect a monthly revenue of 7 silver pieces. Remember, again, we're talking about that decimal economy. For each and every inhabitant of the freehold due to trade, tariffs, and taxes.
Okay.
Now, here's the question. Who are these people? Like, you've gone out in the wilderness, right?
Right. You
have your highly elite band of,
fighters,
extrajudicial killers that you've gone out with. Your friends who you've gone out with, and you have established a fortress. You have cleared the area of, bugbears. I said bugbears
all of the above,
before.
Right.
Monsters of whatever kind, griffins, wyverns, whatever. And who is it? So you attract these fighters, presumably because you now have a reputation as, I have this freehold established, I have this territory, I'm this warlord guy.
Right.
They're like, well, if you pay, I'll hit people for you. So they show up. Okay, we know who they are, but who are the other people who show up? Like, there are assumptions baked into this that it's like,
right?
Who are these people? And all of these assumptions are taken straight out of feudalism. Lord, again, is the title that you get at 9th level.
Sure.
The fighter PC and his household soldiery presumably have the job of keeping the freehold secure from orcs and goblins, whatever other nasties there are, out in the murky, haunted wilds. Vikings.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, again, the feudal system was originally, codified as a way of saying, okay, look, I'm giving you this territory to control. When the Vikings show up, I'm going to call you to show up on a horse at high speed with however many other guys you've got to help me fight them off. And, mutual protection and all this. I'm the guy in charge. The
Caesar
whole way.
did this too. You give more land at the frontiers to veteran soldiers.
Yes. The colonia.
Right.
From which all of our ideas of colonialism essentially were born. Yeah. So, again, there are hosts of questions that this begs, but I want to look at the underlying assumptions Gygax made.
Okay.
First, This is, as I just said, straight up feudalism.
Right.
With a pioneering Yankee twist to it. Specifically, it's European feudalism.
Okay.
Because Japanese feudalism still had the I'm giving you land, in return you come fight for me when I call you, but there was a different underlying set of circumstances involved. There are important differences. This is very much the European beast. Like everything in the starting materials for the game, its baseline default is a fantastical recreation of feudal Europe, tossed into an anachronism soup. Mm-hmm. I want to take a minute to talk about the anachronisms involved in the game. If you look at the variety of equipment that you can pick up as a first level character, there is no time period involved. It is not only world agnostic, it is time period agnostic.
That way you can get all the cool shit.
Well,
though.
you can get cool
weapons.
It's a fantasy thing, but the thing is they're imposing a very specific socio-political overlay onto technologies and tools and even cultural ideas that don't mesh up.
Okay.
And if you are in a long enough running campaign and you have enough devilishly creative people working on it, you wind up having to figure out ways to stitch everything together and make it work.
Right.
And so Gygax made a very, very big deal about being inspired by Jack Vance and the Dying Earth. Kugel the Clever. Okay.
None of this.
Okay.
No idea.
So in D&D, for example, biggest example, wizards have to memorize the spells they're going to cast every day.
Right.
And they cast the spell, and the act of casting the spell and the magical energy that they're exerting basically causes the spell to leave their head, and they've got to rememorize the spell. That is taken straight out of Jack Vance's science fiction fantasy writings.
Okay.
The Dying Earth, I'll take a moment to segue about Dying Earth for anybody who's not familiar. It is well worth the read. It is a ripping yarn. It all dates back to the 50s and 60s, so there are a lot of cultural underpinnings and assumptions that don't age entirely well.
Okay.
Just go into it knowing that. But the main character of most of the books is Kugel the Clever.
Okay.
Or of the novels, anyways. Kugel the Clever, who is a thief. And the landscape through which he travels is Earth millions of years in the future, when the sun is almost at red giant stage in the sky.
Okay.
Technology and science have begun to break down, and eldritch weirdness has crept into the world. And some technology has become so advanced that it's already indistinguishable from magic.
Okay.
But it's been so long since it was invented that nobody knows how it works anymore. Like, we just know we push the lever, we go, that kind of dark age kind of mentality. Yeah. So it's this wonderfully compelling setting. Mm-hmm. And it's really clear Gygax was a huge fan of it. Okay. If you look at the Blackmore adventures and that part of the Greyhawk setting, it is straight out of Jack Vance. It is we're going to take ray guns and throw them at Gothic barbarians or Renaissance noblemen and have this mashup fantasy sci-fi kind of thing.
Sure.
So it's wonderful. Although Gygax loathed to admit it, though, he and everybody playing his game were playing out scenes much more often inspired by Tolkien.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the central themes of Tolkien, if you're paying attention, is a deep-seated distrust of technology and industry. Saruman is a bad guy.
Right.
The scouring of the Shire causes all kinds of environmental destruction within the Shire. The Ents tearing apart Saruman's works at Orthanc.
Nature reclaiming itself.
And the idea of the ring as an allegory for a super weapon. I mean, and in talking about Tolkien, we talked about he didn't write it as an allegory, but it was there in his subconscious. It was all there. Okay. The assumption, in a very Tolkien-esque way, The assumption is that the people paying taxes to our player character fighter are happy peasants and townsfolk working in an idealized set of circumstances under the presumably benevolent authority of our fighter.
Okay.
Because, again, there's no role-playing involved. You don't actually have to sit around, because who really wants to sit around acting as an administrator when what you really want to do is hit goblins in the head with a sword?
Right.
But that leads to the assumption that, well, they're doing their thing and I'm doing my thing, and because I'm the Lord, I'm collecting these taxes. And presumably these people have shown up in this freehold to live there voluntarily to get their own land and opportunities.
Right.
So what does this sound like?
Honestly, it sounds like a couple different things.
Okay.
But it sounds like the mythos that Hitler was drawing on.
Okay.
And that Mussolini was drawing on, which is go back to the yeoman farmer of Rome. Mm-hmm. And that ideal.
Okay.
So you have your noblesse oblige, like you were talking about, feudal Europe,
Yeah.
And essentially, and so you will get rich as a gentleman farmer, yeoman farmer.
Yeah.
And even in Rome, that was a myth after a very short amount, well, not after a short amount of time, it took about 500 years to get there. But essentially after the Second Punic War, that ceased to be. It became latifundia.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm feeling right now.
Okay.
That yeoman farmer mythos.
Okay, yeoman
of
farmer
Rome.
mythos. All right. So yes, Roman conquest of barbarian peoples is one of the examples that I've got here. Going out into the wilderness.
Yep.
Killing off all the Celts.
Yep.
Subjugating the ones you don't kill off.
Right.
Rendering them no longer a threat.
Yes.
And then establishing your colonia.
And
you have your retired imperial soldiers taking their land, and then and then the assumption on the part of the Romans was that other Romans would then head out there to establish themselves and expand Latin culture into the barbarian wilderness.
And so again, this is when you get to 9th level. The game tops out at 11th level.
Yeah.
So this is, I finally made it, and now I've got one last quest to etch my name into the annals of history.
Yes, and then presumably you would start your next campaign with a first level character, with a group of first level characters, likely starting in the freehold established by the characters in the old campaign.
Oh, it's smart writing there.
Okay, well, yeah.
Yeah.
So now, how about westward expansion in the U.S.?
Draws on the same mythology.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, Jefferson was crazy for it, claiming yeoman farmers would civilize the Indian, and at the same time, absolutely looking out for the efforts and economic sanctity of the latifundia farmers by using that mythos.
Yes. Now, I'm going to point out there might be some people here when I talk about feudalism who might want to talk about the Norman conquest of England. This does not parallel that, because the Norman conquest was the top-down imposition of the Norman fighting class over the Saxon commoners with very little driving out.
Okay.
Now, the Great Heathen Army might be a better parallel out of English history or out of British history, where the Vikings showed up. And the Vikings said, well, we really like it here. It's kind of nice. And it's not as cold as back home, and the soil is a lot better. So, yeah, sure, I think we're going to settle. And in the process wound up, killing a whole bunch of Saxons and, taking over their land. A bunch of guys named Ole. To go back to our wrestling episodes, because I still can't get over seeing anybody named Ole as a bad guy, but they were.
He was an asshole,
and so the Great Heathen Army is a little bit of a stretch, but not a big one.
Sure.
But what you have to see, if you look at it for half a second, which is part of what we're doing here with this whole podcast, is the fighter's career culminates in colonization.
Yeah.
The underlying assumption is that this is good, happy farmers' colonization, with literal monsters being the only ones put out, but clearly the template is the same as the historical examples above. Now, it's interesting to see this showing up in escapist fantasy. because it offers a window into our own national identity and our own values. Why did we revolt against Britain? To take this in possibly an unexpected direction, but probably not after we've had this discussion just immediately. Why? What was the ultimate the ultimate big issue that led to revolt from Great Britain?
So you don't mean the catalyst, you mean the main underlying force.
I mean the underlying force. Yeah, underlying force.
Well, they cried taxation without representation.
They cried taxation without representation. Yeah. That is the ideological, philosophical thing, but there was a specific limitation that Parliament placed on the colonists. There was a specific circumstance that led to soldiers being boarded in colonist houses throughout the colonies, the military presence in the colonies in the first place, even before rebellion.
Well, the colonists kept picking fights westward, and the Brits had to keep saving them. The lobsters had to keep saving them.
Yes.
And then they were like, all right, now you got to pay for what you've done. And the colonists were like, no, man, I'm at college. I'm living my life. Like, just send a check, Dad. You can't tell me what to do.
Just send a check, Dad.
So, yeah.
The ultimate answer here is we, our ancestors, wanted to expand beyond the Appalachian Mountains.
Right.
And the Brits had said, no. First off, the French own that. We fought a war over it. We don't want to fight another one. No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Second off, you keep wanting to expand into these territories, and like you just said, we keep having to send troops to save your bacon, and you got to pay for that somehow. We got to feed these guys.
Yep.
We got to keep a roof over these guys' heads. You got to pay for that. So we wanted our ancestors, all those Ulster Scots who'd been kicked out of Britain. wanted to expand because, well, damn it, I'm too close to all my neighbors. I can see their house from here. It's too bloody close. They wanted to expand. Now,
right. Also,
other than...
real quick, a lot of the people who wanted to expand were finishing their 7th year of indentured servitude.
Yes.
And there was no land for them to have because all the good shit got taken by the rich who came in, cleared it out, and set up their own freehold.
Yeah, well, the Virginia Company.
So, and so you have...
Jefferson!
Yeah. So you have...
Washington!
Don't forget Madison.
Sorry.
Yeah. Guy that wrote the Constitution.
Yeah.
But you have a whole bunch of people who this is their only shot at actually getting the land that they came out there to get. Like, they put in their 7 years, they survived, and now, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis gave a wonderful speech to Madeline Stowe about this very thing in Last of the Mohicans, and they bumped right into the French.
Yeah.
So, and the Indians.
Smacked right into them, yeah.
So you have people who historically had been dispossessed back in the Isle, then come over, it's like, hey, by the way, you got to give 7 years of free labor because I paid your way over here. Okay, fine, I'll do that, but then I am my own man.
And there was this fundamental idea that every man had a right to his own homestead.
Yes.
And now we get into talking about Jeffersonian democracy and that whole yeoman myth.
Yes.
Okay? So Jefferson and the early Democratic Republicans had a mad-on about farmers.
Oh, boy, howdy.
They believed that the merchant class was inherently corrupt.
Yes.
Being divorced from the land meant that all you ever dealt with was money, hubba, 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 who do you trust?
Not real estate.
To quote Jack Nicholson, not real estate, but just liquid money.
Assets.
Yeah, and so merchants were corrupt. Bankers were even more corrupt. They believed that crafters and factory workers couldn't be trusted because they were dependent on merchants and bankers.
Yep.
And so the only people that you can trust to run a republic are farmers. Because they're self-sufficient.
Okay, let's
because
back it up.
they live on the land.
Let's back it up for a second.
Okay.
There's a religious component to this too.
Explain.
These are Protestants.
Yes. Oh.
You cannot trust Catholics. They're the ones that stay in the cities. You can't trust bankers. Those are the Jews. There is a deep-seated religious...
Okay. I hadn't spotted that parallel.
Yeah.
I'll say that's probably part of it as well.
Because I'm just thinking about like the religious makeup of the United States as the early colonies.
Yeah.
Most of your Catholics were in the northern colonies.
Well, most of your Catholics were in Maryland, Georgia. They were not Georgia.
Massachusetts.
Maryland.
They got booted. To Maryland and Rhode Island.
Yeah. Generally speaking, it was a lot of the Mid-Atlantic states.
Yeah.
Because they got permission from the crown to be Catholic there.
Yeah.
Because farther up north, well, no, we don't want any. We're building the city of God.
Yeah.
We're not. No, we don't.
But
we don't want your
by the
kind
time the 1700s roll around,
there are more of them there.
Yeah, they're able to move
there
up
are
and down,
more of them,
and they are more city-born than they are.
They do skew urban.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
And again, money lending had been kind of assigned to the Jewish population.
It was the one way they were able to make a living.
Right.
In a world where Christians were not supposed to charge interest on money. And so that's going to happen in urban centers as well. Yeah.
Because it's also just going to be more cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
Also, the more landed you are, the more English you are, and then the further west you go, the more Scottish you are. Because the more urban you are, the more Netherland Dutch you are. And there's a few other groups.
I see the direction you're going in.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we start getting into the Netherland Dutch part, there may be a little bit more analysis than...
Well, just because those are your merchants that time. That time.
Well, yeah, but, John Hancock was about as English as you can get.
Yeah,
and I don't want to wind up overemphasizing that.
No, I'm just saying
aspect.
that is
those are certainly factors. I will say something that I just thought of listening to what you're talking about is there's a very significant regional prejudice involved.
Yeah,
in that your merchants and your bankers and your factory, very, very, very nascent beginnings of factories. All of your, all of those folks, anybody working in manufacturing like that, they're all in the north.
Yep.
Whereas Jefferson and Washington and Madison and all of them are the southern colonies, which are all intensely agricultural, intensely plantation. And so there was an added level of motivation to continue this mythology because of their regional interests.
There's also another aspect of that we probably want to look at is that every city still depended on surrounded farms.
Oh, yeah.
The surrounding farms did not depend on all the cities.
No.
There's this us versus them thing. There's this purity of the land versus the dirtiness of the thing. And therefore, your fighter goes out and clears it, good, honest work. Your thief goes into the town and sets up a crime syndicate.
Yeah.
He's a merchant, ultimately, trading his skills for monies.
Yeah.
Whereas you own land and you magically get 7 silver.
Per head.
Per head.
Important to say, every man, woman, and child per head. Now, early in the nation's history, there was a minimum property ownership requirement to be able to vote.
Yeah.
Okay, this was based on the essentially agrarian idea that if you didn't own land, you were susceptible to manipulation by a landlord or employer, and so your vote couldn't be trusted.
Right.
If you didn't have sufficient property, you didn't really have the gravitas or sufficient education to make those kinds of decisions.
And these are the same people that came up with the 3/5 compromise.
Yes.
Just
they're
telling on themselves.
Yeah, and so now it's interesting. Jefferson had such an idealized view of yeoman farmers. He wasn't one.
No, he was squeezing them out of business.
Yeah, no. In his estimation, however, planters like himself, which is to say plantation owners relying on slave labor, could be trusted just as much as yeomen because, self-sufficiency, right?
Define self.
Wait.
And Jefferson died in debt, so define sufficiency.
But it was gentlemanly debt.
Well, that's a good point.
He died surrounded by his sizable library.
That's true.
And his mansion that was constantly under construction, which was, by the way, the reason he died in debt. All that, and he didn't have much of a head for business. But
I have such a problem with Jefferson because he Like, and here's my problem. It's so love-hate.
Oh,
he's an odious human being in so many ways.
Douchebag. He's such a jerk.
And also, he's the first and only redheaded president.
I love that's where you go first. Yeah, okay.
And secondly, and this is probably, less laugh-worthy and more interesting on a number of levels, many people have gone back into history and looked at the record of him and said, dude was on the spectrum.
Yeah.
So he's kind of our first autistic president.
Neurodivergent.
Yeah. And non-neurotypical.
Yeah.
And yet he's a shithead. And I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. Well, you gotta remember that he was, like everybody is, he was a product of his time. He was a product of his class.
That's true, because John Adams owned, that's right, none.
Yeah. Well,
so,
and again, I'm going to say...
Product of his region.
Product of his region, product of his time. When we were talking about wrestling and the Lost Cause, talking about the religious differences between the North and the South.
Yeah.
This is before the Great Awakening, but it is worth noting that even at this early date, the northern colonies were, of course, all ideologically affected by the Puritans.
True.
Who were, intensely Dutch Protestant, whereas everybody in the southern colonies was what we today would call Episcopalian. They were Church of England through and through. They were not nonconformists in any way. And so they still carried all of the Church of England ideas about class structure, nobility, even though we didn't have anybody with titles over here in the United States.
Oh, they totally set up nobility.
If you were a planter, you were a feudal lord with a territory. I mean, that's what a plantation was.
You just didn't call it that?
You didn't call it that.
Yeah.
Because everybody who came over here were second sons, so almost none of them inherited the property that went to their older brothers back in the old country. It should also be noted, of course, while I'm talking about this, that the guys who had the capital to form the companies that made up the founders of Virginia, the Carolinas, and all those colonies, got that money because they came from the nobility in the old country. So that mentality came with them over here.
They England recreated its class system in the South.
In the southern colonies, that's what happened. Yeah. And the only reason it didn't happen in the North was because it was founded by seditionists and religious fanatics.
Yeah.
So you win
merchants.
Some, yeah, well, yeah,
because that's the Massachusetts area, but like the New Amsterdam area.
Well, yeah,
those are merchants. It's very cosmopolitan.
Yeah. So you win some, you lose some, on all sides. But again, Jefferson and the planters had this idealized view of themselves as being yeoman farmers writ large.
Right.
Like, no, we're not going to say we're yeoman farmers. No, obviously we're not going to get our hands dirty actually working in the soil. Right. That's peasants' work.
Right.
I'm sorry, I mean slaves' work. But it's just a matter of scale. Right? No, but to them,
in their eyes,
in their eyes, I do not need the infrastructure of the mercantile system in the city. I don't need all of
more
that.
importantly, I supply them with what they need.
Yeah, I am the one supplying them.
I'm crucial to them.
Yeah, I am crucial to them. They need me more than I need them.
Yes.
Thus, I am independent. Thus, I am self-sufficient.
Yes.
Never mind the fact that what Jefferson grew at Monticello was all cash crops. He bought all of his food. He didn't grow. I mean, some of his food.
You've got your local garden,
But
you're right.
Staple crops, the stuff that he fed to his slaves, he bought a lot of it, and most of the money he did make, even though again he died in debt, it was all cash crops. It was tobacco. It was mostly tobacco at this phase in colonial history. So in his mind, he still counted, like I said, as a yeoman writ very, very large. Oh, man. Similarly, the rest of his class were, to him, intrinsically purer Republicans, with a small r, than anybody from the industrializing or merchant-driven North. So at this point, what is your takeaway right now?
Well, I think it's kind of telling just based on the questions I was asking. Where's Gygax from? Where did he grow up? Because I'm a big believer in regionalism. I'm a big believer in the people that settled that area, dictated the culture of that area, and you do have some some mutation and some diffusion, but by and large, it's locked in. And so him being from the Midwest makes perfect sense to me because he's from the area that was settled by people who pushed and dealt with that tension as a part of the culture and as a part of the creation of their statehood.
Yeah, definitely.
So to me, if Gary Gygax had been born in, I don't know, Massachusetts, it would have been a different system.
Yeah,
I think if he'd been born in Florida, it would have been a very different system. If he'd been born in the coast of California or even up in Seattle, it would have been different. I think this is a very Midwestern game now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I also, just a little aside, how funny is it that the memorizing of the spells thing is still a mechanic?
I think for
balance purposes.
For balance purposes.
But it's also, I think it's baked in such a way that nobody questions it.
Oh, yeah. No,
they've created other classes to deal with it?
Yeah, well, they've created other classes to deal with it. Mm-hmm. Other role-playing games that have come after this one have found other ways to deal with it.
Right.
One of my favorite, again, the segues, the fun part, is Ars Magica, in which all of the most important player characters are wizards. They just do away with the idea that, you know what, look, everybody else is an also-ran. Right. The wizards are the ones who are important.
Sure.
And so they said, here's the deal. Of course you don't memorize your spells. If you forgot your spells, you're no good as a wizard.
Right.
They're what makes you a wizard. And so it has less to do with memorization and more to do with, do you perform the spell properly every time? It's a dice roll every time you do it. And so
it's an attack roll, basically.
Yeah, essentially. But it is very clearly a game designer's response to this system, and it just reinforces how seminal D&D is to everything that has come after. No matter what genre you're working in, no matter what other area you're working in, you're always responding to this the same way fantasy writers are still responding to Tolkien.
Right. So my ultimate takeaway here is this. Because he grew up in an area that was expanded into. Yeah. Because he grew up because he lived in an area that was expanded into, and because Gary Gygax lived in kind of the first place that the westward expansion happened. Yeah. His focus on the game was ultimately very shaped by that, and the first place that Thomas Jefferson did Louisiana Purchase. Yeah. He expanded us westward. Yes. And he saw that as, okay, now we're going to try this yeoman farmer thing I've been trying this whole time. Yeah. And if you look at the schools out there, I think, is Oberlin College in Ohio?
I want to say yes.
Okay. I know it's Midwestern. There's another school. Their mascot is the yeoman.
Oh, yeah.
So.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. So it's just like this idea of yeoman farming. I mean, hell, even the Mennonites went there for it.
Oh, yeah.
So it just, again, if he had been 100 miles further west, if he'd been in Kansas, I think you'd see a different game.
I don't know if 100 miles further west would have done it. Part of what
200.
But part of what I have in my notes here is if instead of an American wrote this game, a European had written this game.
I'm interested.
It could be very different that way there.
Okay.
So, and I'm gonna get into that a bit. We're gonna spend some time in the next episode talking more about agrarianism and how it affected governmental policy.
Cool.
In our history. So,
all right. Well, I can't wait to hear it next episode. So, for A Geek History of Time, I'm Damian Harmony.
And I'm Ed Blaylock. And remember, keep rolling those crits.